mix-up in protocol. I think, Your Excellency, because you are wearing a mask and you are getting younger every day, I think he did not quite recognize you. I apologize for the faux pas. The Deputy Assistant Secretary of African Affairs of the U.S., let me formally welcome you to Nigeria. I learned about your presence in Nigeria through the media, and I immediately contacted Kathleen, who graciously arranged for this meeting to take place. I'm aware that you are here to seek collaboration between Nigeria and the United States in the area of the creative industry. This visit couldn't have come at a better time, considering that we here in Nigeria are working very hard to reposition the creative and culture industry, which has been badly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The creative and culture industry is a key sector of the Nigerian economy, contributing 17.3% to the country's GDP in 2020, and together with other similarly unrelated sectors, it provides between 10 and 15 million jobs. Indeed, the creative and culture industry is the biggest employer of labor after agriculture. Realizing the need to give the sector a shot in the wake of the pandemic, we set up a committee tagged the Post-COVID Initiative on the Creative and Culture Industry to assess the impact of the pandemic on the sector and recommend measures to mitigate such. The committee did an excellent job, and before you leave, Your Excellency, I will present a copy to you to give you an overview of the importance and relevance of the sector to the Nigerian economy. Let me quickly say that the industry, which includes film, television, radio, music, performing arts, IT, gaming and software development, publishing and printing, as well as fashion and tourism, has received strategic interventions from the Nigerian government in the past. This includes the 22.29 billion naira Central Bank Nigeria Creative Industry Finance Initiatives, the 1 billion naira Bank of Industry Nolly Fund, another 1 billion naira Bank of Industry Fashion and Beauty Fund, the Empower Creative and Project Act Nollywood. We are still exploring other avenues to further give the sector a lift. I know you have a flight to catch, so let me quickly end my remarks by calling for more collaborations between Nigeria and the United States in the creative and culture industry. Of immediate importance to us in Nigeria at this time is how to continue to improve the quality of our films. As you know, Nollywood, as our film industry is known, is among the top 3 in the world. Yes, the quality of our films have improved incrementally over the years, but we can still benefit from the rich experience of America's Hollywood, the undisputed world best. Apart from improving the quality of our production through technical training and exchanges, we will also like to learn a few tricks in the area of animation. Once again, I welcome Ms. Cook and her team to our dear country. And since we are meeting on the last day of your visit, I wish you a safe trip back home. I thank you for your very kind attention. Of our study in conjunction with other documents that are related to the creative industry to show exactly the passion and commitment of this government. Thank you. Your Excellency, this is the study that we commissioned to gauge the impact of the COVID pandemic on the creative industry. This study encompasses the impact of COVID-19 on the tourism industry, on the hospitality industry, on film, on music, on fashion, on makeup, on publishing, on IT. And honestly, we were quite surprised by the findings, because to many people, the field known for in terms of, they call it in the creative industry. But the beauty, the makeup, beauty, and the fashion industry actually trumps all of them. And that they employ quite a lot. I commend the report for your reading to see which areas you can help us really in the capacity building in the entire ecosystem. It also includes this is the compendium by the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation on tourism in life in Nigeria, and also another development in Nigeria. We hope this will probably assist you to get a better understanding of the industry in Nigeria. Once again, I welcome you to Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. I look forward to reviewing the report and hope that we can have an exchange. Yes, thank you, Mr. Minister. I look forward to reviewing the report. I, too, am surprised to hear the impact of the makeup and fashion industry, and look forward to chatting a bit about that. But I did want to share a couple observations, and hopefully I won't give the ambassador and our control officer a heart attack if I speak for a bit, but this is a topic that already with very little government intervention. But I think that there are quite a few places where government assistance could be helpful. So in the first instance is ensuring that there are adequate copyright protections for the artists who are making music and film, because that will ensure that they're actually getting properly compensated for their work and that the value of the work that they're creating stays here in Nigeria. So I think that that would be important, including supporting the copyright bill. The other part of it is making investments in human capital development. We all know sort of the people who are in front of the camera, so to speak, but there's quite a large ecosystem of individuals who support the industry and who would need technical assistance. So, for example, your technical editors and sound people who help to drive the industry. But there are also the business people who help to ensure that the deals that artists and others are getting into are fair, that the way that they work with the streamers and the production companies are fair. And so helping to provide training for those people, I think, is another area that the government could help with. I was pleased to learn from the central bank governor yesterday that the government is making an investment in refurbishing the National Theater for Arts and Culture in Lagos and looking to create an ecosystem there. I think that's going to be a phenomenal opportunity for artists, and hope that we can work together to ensure that the learnings that we've gotten in the United States about how to create such ecosystems, for example, in Atlanta, Georgia, which has actually overtaken Hollywood in terms of where films are made in the United States through specific policy choices that the government in the state of Georgia made to ensure that that kind of development could happen, and really quickly in the span of 10 years. So I think that's in part of the creative industries. On the digital side, I think there are some things the government can do. As you know, I follow Nigeria quite closely, and followed some of the decisions here, particularly around Twitter. We're grateful that that Twitter is now allowed to operate in Nigeria, and think that access to social media is important because, frankly, that's how a lot of artists learn. So on the creative industries, that's important. But it's also how they share information and connect sometimes with investors. Younger people, Twitter is often the place where they connect with their counterparts, with investors, venture capital. A lot of that activity happens on social media. But if you'll indulge me, I'll also talk about how important social media is in terms of civic engagement. And I know I'll put on my, because I'm also responsible for economic issues, but also responsible for democracy and governance. I note that Nigeria has elections coming up next year, and I think having access to social media and having access to telecommunications is going to be really important to ensuring that young people participate, but that the citizens of Nigeria feel that they have open communication. So I think that that would be important. But the other side of that, of course, is the economic reasons to invest in the digital sector. Digital is driving everything from financial technology to climate technology, health technology. And so that's another place where human capacity and developing human capacity, especially by the government, would be important. But it's really the future of Nigeria, given all of the amazing ideas. I have been here for 3 days and have heard from so many young entrepreneurs with brilliant ideas that I think really offer the kind of solutions to the global problems and challenges we're all facing across the world. And so I want to make sure that Nigeria's dynamism is on display for the world. And in 2022, that means social media. And so I think that's going to be critically important. I was surprised to hear before I got here that there are no African cartoons. I believe that the first African animation movie was just made, and one of the American streaming companies is looking to make some investments in developing African-based animation. Obviously, this is not only critical, so much potential in terms of driving the economy, but also in promoting African culture. Telling more diverse African stories, which goes back to how we message around perceptions of Africa and increase not only investments coming in, but also, frankly, investments from right here within Nigeria. We can bring much more of the capital that's here to these industries by not only highlighting the good economic returns, the profit that's there to be made, but also the larger good that comes from showcasing African culture to the world and bringing more attention to the good things that are happening in Nigeria. But I'd be remiss if I didn't also point to some of the enabling environment challenges that often can be nerve-wracking, shall I say, for investors. So some of the unpredictability in the investment environment, particularly any challenges with accessing foreign exchange. I think that that can sometimes be a little challenging for venture capitalists and others who would like to put their money into some of these industries, but may be nervous about how they get their money out. So these are just some of the observations that I've had over the past couple of days. As I said, I'm extremely grateful for you to make the time for this meeting. I know that I'm running a little bit late for my next engagement, but I do want to spend some time just chatting with you and exchanging views in the hopes that we can continue this conversation.
You see, Twitter was suspended because it became a platform of choice for those who are working for the disunity of this country. This is a country of 200 ethnic groups, very multi-religious, and there was a lot of fault lines that Twitter was exploiting. And before the suspension, Twitter got a lot of notices and warning. But I'm glad to say that our engagement with Twitter has been very productive and useful for both parties. And the outcome of that engagement is going to help us not just in our engagement with Twitter, but in our engagement with all social media platforms. Because all we want is a very wholesome content, wholesome messages. I don't know how long we've been and what have we had in Nigeria. A lot of terrible things are happening in the country today simply because of the recklessness of the content that are being posted on social media. Only last week, a young lady of 18, I think a young lady of 21, was murdered and for money rituals. And the suspect confessed that she learned all this from the social media. So please, you must understand the peculiar situation of Nigeria, and we have no intention of muffling or stifling the media. It's simply impossible to do so. That's the truth in Nigeria. Anybody who has been here, it's impossible. We have a very dynamic, sometimes irreverent media, but that's what you need for development. And even when Twitter's operation was suspended, Google, Facebook, every other person was still active in Nigeria. So I want you to take it back to the US. Nigeria has one of the freest press laws in the world. I'm glad you also mentioned the issue of digital, deepening the digital, revolution. I don't know whether you are aware that just about 3 weeks ago, we were in Egypt, in Cairo. We met with the Afrexim Bank. And that was because we realized that it was important for us to complete our digital switchover. The digital switchover, switching over from analog to digital, commenced a long time before I assumed office as minister. Unfortunately, the model adopted then is no longer sustainable now. So we've been working with the Ministerial Task Force on DSO, and 3 weeks ago we were in Cairo to meet with the Afrexim Bank to discuss how they could finance the various stakeholders, the signal distributors, the content owners, the aggregators, and the other stakeholders in the set-top box manufacturers. And it was an excellent meeting in which the Afrexim Bank is ready to invest, I think, about $165 million to assist each component of the DSO. We also made a very strong appeal to get the audience management system working in Nigeria. What you have today is a very subjective, unscientific method of measuring how many eyeballs are watching a particular program. And you see, if without an effective, objective audience management system, you will not be able to grow your advertisement. And advertisement is very important for this industry. So these are some of the things we've been doing lately to ensure that the digital switch over the media industry is very, very vibrant. And in the area of giving institutional support, we've been very radical in amending the broadcasting code in a manner that will relieve the struggling industry from competition, from monopoly. Regrettably, sometimes the same people you are working for don't quite appreciate it. But I'm glad that gradually they are not appreciating the kind of modification we are making to the to the broadcasting code to allow for a better level playing field for all the actors. For instance, before now, the big players in the field will go to the US or go to the UK and get, a very good, program, like the English Premier League, and then it will be exclusive to them. And we said, no, you can go and buy EPL, but you must be willing to share with other smaller, players on terms and conditions agreeable to all the parties. Improve in terms of statute, in terms of regulation, to ensure that that industry continues to grow. As for the intellectual property, regrettably, it is not in my ministry. It's actually with the Attorney General's office. But even then, I remember about 2-3 years ago, we led an advocacy group to the Inspector General of Police on the need to protect intellectual property of our artists. And based on that trip, the Nigerian police created an IP section in every command, so that if there are reports of violation of IP or there's piracy, which is very huge here, then the police can step in. But more importantly, by the time we finish with our DSO project, the issue of piracy will be a thing of the past, because with the DSO project, there will be film on demand, and you don't need to go and buy the cassettes or the videos. So this administration is quite committed, is very passionate about the industry, because we see it as our next oil. We see it as the only resource that will not dry up, because we're a rich country, we have stories to tell, and we want to push those stories out in multimedia. Once again, I know that you have another apology, but I hope we can deepen this conversation, further. Thank you very much.
You don't mind, huh? Okay, 2 minutes. Thank you very much.